back on his motorbike. Shortly after beginning their road trip, however, the snake began coiling around its chauffeur. Before long, it had constricted enough to pull him off his bike, and despite passersby,
Yo, what's good, guys? Calvin here. Today we're gonna be looking at embarrassing ways people died. Darwin Award winners, okay? So everybody is born with a brain, but not everybody is born with common sense. Some people just lack the common sense to make the right decisions. That is what we're gonna explore today. Hopefully you guys can get this video an early thumbs up. Really help out the channel. And yeah, let's get right in with ourselves.
despite all the advancements of modern society, people still find ways to fall through the safety nets and put themselves in danger.
Love
Some
the
people are
animation.
so dumb, no amount of health and safety regulations can keep them around past their self-inflicted expiry date. So without further ado, let's marvel at the unfortunate souls who selected themselves out of the gene pool, winning a posthumous Darwin Award in the process. Macho Man's downfall. We all know a guy who cares more about seeming like the manliest man than his own personal safety. But for one unfortunate fellow from Pato Branco, Brazil, wanting to appear tough resulted in the opposite effect, and ultimately, his demise. When the 48-year-old climbed into bed one night, he felt a sudden twinge of pain on his leg. Pulling back the sheets, he spotted a Brazilian brown spider, which, upon being joined in bed uninvited, had bitten him. These little critters might not look as scary as some of our planet's other arachnids, but their venom packs a seriously painful punch. If left untreated, Brazilian brown spider bites can lead to infections and serious health problems.
Yeah, that is the scariest thing you can wake up to. Like you are going to bed and it's super dark and you don't even know what bit you. Man, people gonna have nightmares. You know, what if a snake just crawl into your bed in the middle of the night? Oh my god, that would be so scary. And the spiders, they're not any better, okay? One bit is so venomous, so poisonous, it will kill you too.
For this man, though, despite the intense pain, the other symptoms weren't so obvious. At first. Not that he paid his symptoms any mind anyway, as despite his family's insistence, he refused to get the bite checked out by a doctor. Within a matter of days, however, his body had begun to swell up, his legs became virtually unresponsive, and his kidneys began to fail.
Oh
By the
no.
time he finally put his ego aside, it was too late. He died in the hospital, leaving behind a clear lesson to all macho men. You can outmuscle many things in life, brother, but a venomous spider bite ain't one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, you think you have big muscles, you know? You just gotta get it checked out. What if a snake bites you, or a spider bites you, any kind of animal or insect that bit you, and you think it might be poisonous? You gotta go to the hospital. Do not tough it out, okay?
Gnarly bail, dude. There's nothing wrong with being a thrill seeker, just as long as the thrills you seek aren't laced with total stupidity. Unfortunately, the thrills this next Darwin Award recipient sought out contained lethal doses of idiocy, far exceeding the government's daily recommendations of a single spoonful. While hitting the slopes at Bogus Basin in Idaho, one snowboarder decided the allocated ski areas just weren't exciting enough and decided to up the thrill factor in a supremely stupid way. Without taking any precautions to check for traffic, he decided to attempt to jump over the main road leading to the top of the mountain. Unfortunately, this particular road happened to be in regular use, but the bird-brained boarder attempted to clear it anyway. But when the trick proved to be an utter failure, the snowboarder didn't just have the embarrassment to contend with. He also had the SUV coming directly at him with no time to react and nowhere to swerve to worry about. But he didn't have to worry for too long because he wasn't wearing a helmet. And the impact the SUV made was so severe, it killed him almost instantly.
Oh my
Gnarly.
goodness. And you know the snowboard? He was so sad. He was like, Master, no, please don't go, Master. Hopefully the snowboard will find a new master with a little bit of common sense, okay? Why would you snowboard into the highway? You know that is dangerous. You are supposed to stay away from those areas that are not allowed. You are supposed to stay in the area that is meant for skateboard, you know?
In a burglary. Holy moly. There are many things that can go wrong in a burglary attempt. The homeowners might catch you in the act. There might be an angry Doberman with a taste for burglars waiting for you inside. You might even fall through the ceiling 24 feet to the floor below.
That'd be so
that
funny.
last one is a little less likely, but it's exactly what happened to one burglar in Nevada in 2019.
What? No
While
way.
trying to cut himself an entry point into the roof of a hair salon in Carson City, he lost his footing, falling straight into the hole he'd just made. With the ceiling being over 20 feet high as he fell, the burglar must have been hoping he'd land in the comfort of a barber's chair rather than on an upturned pair of scissors. But neither outcome occurred, as instead he crashed straight down onto the cold, hard floor and was killed instantly. Needless to say, there are better ways to get a free haircut.
Here's the thing I worry the most, right? Since he died inside the salon, the ghost might just live in the salon area, in the store maybe. So the store must be closed. I would not want to go to that salon since someone died inside of it. You know what I'm saying?
And none of them involve cutting holes in ceilings. Having a blast. There are many ways a person can annoy their neighbors when living in a small apartment complex. Loud music, annoying pets, and parties are the usual problems. But for an apartment block in Tiraspol, Moldova, one problematic neighbor made a bang that was more than just noisy. On a quiet afternoon in February 2019, residents of the apartment complex were suddenly met with an almighty boom. As glass exploded out from one apartment window into the street below, the emergency services were called to investigate. When police arrived, the apartment block's gas was shut off, as it was initially assumed a gas leak had caused the explosion. But as the police began to piece the mystery together, a gas explosion was quickly ruled out in favor of something much more ridiculous.
What?
It turned out the owner of the apartment in which the explosion had occurred was somewhat of a military enthusiast. He had a large assortment of weapons in his room, including grenades, and had somehow managed to set one off while perusing his collection. The blast from the hand grenade obliterated his apartment, but miraculously left the rest of the complex largely untouched. Unsurprisingly, though, the grenade-toting apartment owner himself was very much dead when the police arrived.
Yeah, he must be blown into pieces. I mean, he just kind of reminded me of a Bruno Mars song. I will catch a grenade for you. I bet he might be in love or something, That's why he was messing with the grenade and practicing catching the grenade. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. He might be, he just broke up with his girlfriend, or maybe he just playing around. Who knows? But that was definitely a bad choice.
Hand grenades. Not even once. Felt cute. Might delete myself. Certain people will go to great lengths nowadays for the perfect Instagram photo opportunity. After all, how are people going to know how much fun their lives are without plastering it all over social media? Sarcastic though my tone may be, this mindset is very much real for some folk. And what's more, desperation for a great pic at any cost has forcibly removed a select few from the gene pool in recent years. One such case happened to a student at Fordham University in New York back in 2019. Late one night, she and her friends had the not-so-bright idea to climb an off-limits clock tower on campus, hoping to snap a few Insta-worthy pics at the top. But whether it was the excitement of a photo op or just the darkness of the evening, during the ascent, the student made a fatal mistake. Somehow, she managed to fall out of an open alcove and over the edge, plummeting to the lower roof of the building. With serious injuries sustained from her fall, she died shortly afterwards. She did reportedly manage to snap a few pics before falling, but she never even got to share them with the world.
Gosh, that is...
Was it worth it? Unless those pics ever get released, we'll never know for sure.
Yeah, that is just a horrible way to die. I mean, how will you explain it to your friends, like your family? How would they explain it? Like, how did your daughter die? Oh, CJ was just trying to take an Instagram photo and fall off a castle.
But I'm betting on a firm no. Ride of your life. Some ideas are so dumb, even just hearing about them makes you feel slightly less intelligent. One such idea was brought to life in the city of Zevenaar in the Netherlands in June 2020. A young man and his friend, perhaps after watching the televised antics of Johnny Knoxville, Bam Margera and co., decided to tie a shopping cart to a car and go for a ride. Clearly pulling the short straw, one of them clambered into the cart, while the other took the much less treacherous role of driver. As the engine roared into life, the cart rider hesitantly stood up in his humble chariot and prepared to feel the wind in his hair. While he was reportedly able to engage in this unconventional style of surfing for a little while, it wasn't long before the cart began to lose stability. Before he knew it, the shopping cart tamer was buckarooed right off, traveling at a significant speed, and landed in a crumpled heap on the tarmac, dying instantly.
Oh,
I could never
man.
condone partaking in a joyride of this.
So my question is your friend the actual murderer? Like, if the police arrive, would they arrest the friend because he technically just killed his friend, you know? The guy that is driving, will he get any jail sentence? What do you guys think? Leave it in the comment section below. I know it is not intentional, but he did actually kill his friend because he was driving way too fast, you know, way too fast.
This kind, but if you're dumb enough to insist, at least wear a helmet and protective gear, because as this guy learned in the split second before his annihilation, high speeds, tarmac, and human faces are not a pleasant mix. Is this thing loaded? In June 2020, an incident of such outrageous stupidity occurred, it would seem more at place in a wacky cartoon than in real life. At a birthday celebration in the town of Shahapur in the Indian state of Maharashtra, a 28-year-old man decided to take a look through the party host's belongings. Finding what was quite obviously a very real revolver and mistaking it for a toy, he jokingly pointed it at himself. Sensing no danger whatsoever and committed to the gag, he pulled the trigger. As a gunshot cut through the fun atmosphere of the party, guests poured in from other rooms and saw the aftermath. It wasn't pretty. The guests were left shocked and disturbed by the incident and were forced to confront three very important.
Holy crap, that is just way too crazy. He just basically killed himself and he didn't even know it. I mean, there was probably blood all over the floor when the guests just walked into the room. It must be like a nightmare. It must have been like a nightmare. Oh my god, that is crazy. I'm just trying to comprehend it. Why would you point a gun into your own head? I mean, like, does that look funny to you? It does not look funny at all. You know?
Lessons. Firstly, if you own guns, don't leave them lying around loaded when you throw a party. Secondly, don't invite people to your party with less than 3 brain cells. And thirdly, even if you suspect a gun to be fake, never hold it up to yourself and open fire before you've double, triple, and quadruple checked with the owner. Treat every gun like it's loaded. Otherwise, at the very least, you may ruin a perfectly good party.
Yeah.
And nobody likes a party pooper.
Yeah, it was ruined. The party
Rapid
was
exit.
ruined.
Every once in a while, in the process of accidentally removing themselves from the gene pool in spectacularly embarrassing ways, people actually end up saving lives. For one unlucky man from Somalia, though, saving lives was far from his intention, yet he somehow managed it anyway. The man in question boarded a commercial flight from Abdinati International Airport in Mogadishu, Somalia on February 2nd, 2016, with diabolical intentions. His plan, it seemed, had been to smuggle a laptop on board, which was fitted with a bomb and detonate it mid-flight, bringing the plane crashing down. He succeeded in getting the bomb past security, and shortly after takeoff, prepared for everyone on board's fiery.
Holy crap, that is crazy. He was able to get a bomb inside the computer and then brought it into the airplane. How in the world do you do that? Man, he must be pretty smart, I gotta admit.
Demise. The terrorist detonated his device and it exploded according to plan. But in a shocking and admittedly kind of hilarious turn of events, he blew a hole in the side of the plane right next to him, which sucked him straight out into the open air.
Whoa!
While a couple of other people were injured, no passengers died, and the plane turned around and landed safely back at the airport. All the while, the world's unluckiest terrorist was treated to a nice flight of his own, straight down to the ground at terminal velocity. What was left of him was later scraped off the road near Mogadishu, and about as dignified an ending as he deserved. Hammer time!
Hammer time.
When in town, hit it with a hammer. That's the approach one man from the commune of Boltati in Romania seemed to take to life. At least it's the approach he took when investigating a mysterious metal object he found while exploring the fields near his home. As you can hopefully understand, a hammer is far from the perfect investigative tool for such a purpose. But unfortunately, not everyone is fortunate to have the baseline level of common sense you and I take for granted. The metal object in question was a rusty cylinder that looked something like this,
Looks
which
like a
even at
bomb.
first glance should have begun to ring a few alarm bells in his
Yeah.
head. But those alarm bells remained silent, and the air was soon filled with other noises instead. First, the sound of metal on metal, as he took the object back to his home workshop and gave it an investigatory whack with his hammer. Then, the sound of an explosion, because the object he'd found and proceeded to hammer was a very old, but still very much active, bombshell from a past battle on Romanian soil. With all the grace and decorum of someone trying to tie their shoes with a jackhammer, the man was blown to smithereens in the most literal sense of the phrase.
Oh my
He
goodness.
wasn't a bright spark in life, but he certainly was in death.
God, that is so bad.
Light refreshment. What's your favorite food? Pizza? Pasta? Sushi? Barbecue.
Yeah, okay, leave it in the comment section. What is your favorite food? Mine is probably sushi, my favorite, okay?
Feel free to share yours down in the comments below, but whatever yours is, I'm sure you take great pleasure in eating it. And why wouldn't you? Food is great, but it's more than that. It's essential for our continued survival. Most people never forget this fact of life, but one Swiss woman chose to, well, simply ignore it when she ventured forth on an incredibly questionable spiritual journey back in 2011. After watching a documentary about an Indian guru who allegedly survived for 70 years consuming no food, living off sunlight alone, the woman decided to try her hand at the challenge. Now, you might be thinking, but what if the documentary was lying?
It was fake.
And you'd be right to do so, because
Yeah.
that tale was almost certainly little more than a myth, or at the very least, an exaggeration, as the whole idea goes against every shred of evidence biological science presents us with. But what does science matter when you have faith, right? Well, that's the viewpoint this woman adopted, and she decided to stop eating and drinking altogether. When that proved too tough, she began drinking water again, but continued to resist food. After a few weeks of the practice, she was found in her apartment, dead of starvation.
Oh
It
my.
shouldn't need to be said, but no matter
Yeah, here's the thing, right? She does not understand we are humans, okay? We are not plants. We are not green. If we are green, we can take sunlight and produce photosynthesis, okay? But we are definitely not humans.
once your body runs out of food, it begins digesting itself. Eventually, this stops the vital organs from functioning, and death soon follows. If there's a legitimate way to get around it, the scientific world is yet to see compelling evidence of it. One thing that is certain, though, is that this Swiss woman's death was a failed attempt to make a somewhat pointless statement. But anyway, is anyone else feeling hungry all of a sudden?
Me too. Very hungry as
Big
heck.
bad birdie. Despite what you might believe, dinosaurs still exist. Not in the form of giant T-Rexes, granted, though their current forms can be just as scary. Case in point, this bizarre creature known as a cassowary. Found across Indonesia and northeastern Australia, it's one of the largest birds on Earth, reaching up to 6 feet tall and
Wow.
weighing as much as 130 pounds.
Dang.
If you don't believe my dinosaur claim, just check out their claws.
Holy.
Scary, right?
It
Well, it's
is.
those 4-inch long claws that make up the focal point of this next tale of one man's unfortunate, yet avoidable, demise. While cassowaries are certainly fascinating to look at,
They
they're
kinda
known
look
for
like
being
dinosaurs.
incredibly territorial. This is something one Florida man should have been aware of, considering he bred them on his property near Gainesville. But for reasons unknown, one day the breeder let his guard down while walking in the enclosure housing one of his cassowaries. In a stroke of misfortune, he fell, and seeing an opportunity to attack, the cassowary leapt forth with those dagger-like claws.
Oh
Had the
my
breeder been
God.
smart like this guy, he would have taken something into the enclosure to put between the bird and himself in the event of an attack. Anything to absorb some of the powerful kick's impact, and most importantly, keep those claws away from his vulnerable body would have made all the difference. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The bird overpowered the unlucky breeder and kicked him to death.
Oh.
It's certainly a tragedy and proves that around dangerous animals, letting your guard down even once can be a death sentence.
Ooh.
But on the other hand, I would argue that killed by a living dinosaur is a pretty cool thing to have on your gravestone.
No, it's not. Why would you? That would be pretty funny though. Like if I saw a gravestone and it says killed by a living dinosaur, man, I would not believe it, okay? Like dinosaur does not exist today, but there's animals that resemble dinosaur like that bird, okay? I would not even want to go near that bird. He is 6 feet. I'm 5'7", okay? He's gonna be way taller than me. I'm not gonna touch any animal that is way taller than me. Only touch animals that is below my knee, okay? That is my rule of thumb.
Digging an early grave. You don't need to look far on the internet to see examples of people with dangerous jobs throwing all safety measures to the wind. Like this guy, who successfully completed his digging unharmed in spite of his very unstable looking DIY support beams. Or this genius, whose choice of propping tools are one sudden movement away
Wow.
from crumbling like breadsticks, with a side of crushed human for dipping. Not everyone is so lucky, however, and it turns out the most dangerous type of support beam is none at all. That was precisely the construction style chosen by one man in 2018 when he decided to dig a tunnel into a sand dune at a beach in St. Augustine, Florida. He wormed his way several feet into the side of the sand dune and seemed to be having fun. Until his unsupported makeshift tunnel suddenly collapsed on him. The collapse covered him in several feet of sand, suffocating him, and the sudden shock triggered a fatal heart attack, finishing him off. And that, folks, is why even these types of support beams are better than none at all when it comes to digging yourself out of or into trouble.
Then he just dig his own grave and he didn't even realize it. I mean, that must be a really horrible way to die. I mean, imagine you're inside a room with no oxygen. Man, it must be super horrible.
Reptile road trip. No matter how many people fall victim to agonizing and often fatal bites, people just don't seem to get the message to not mess with snakes. Like the bizarre Indian trend of snapping selfies with cobras. Or this Florida man whose decision to kiss a venomous water moccasin temporarily turned his face into a marshmallow. But even those folks are basically Einstein-level geniuses compared to one man from the Kuala Lumpur district of Malaysia who took a wild python for a motorcycle ride in January 2018. Having passed the 11-foot-long reptile on his return from work, he grabbed a pair of gloves and a sickle from home before returning to catch it. While his motivations for doing so remain unclear, he picked up the snake, holding it by its head to avoid being bitten, and hopped back on his motorbike. Shortly after beginning their road trip, however, the snake began coiling around its chauffeur. Before long, it had constricted enough to pull him off his bike, and despite passersby attempting to pull him free, the python had soon squeezed all of the life out of him. So if you ever take a reptile on a road trip, take it in a nice car. Because if this story is anything to go by, pythons really seem to hate riding motorbikes.
Yes, that python, he just a savage, okay? He just got himself an Uber ride completely free. He was like, okay, I reached my destination, but I forgot my lunch, so I'm gonna go ahead and make you my lunch today. Alright guys, that is the end of the video. We gotta look at some comments. The animation for the intro has gotten so much better than a couple years ago. It has been a while. Yes, the intro was definitely really well done. The sad part is that many of these Darwin awards have already spread their genes before passing on. Stupidity will be coming back in enhanced ways. No! Humans gonna be even dumber! But yeah guys, that is the end of the video. I really enjoyed this video. Did you guys enjoy it? If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification, and my social media link is in the description below. And yeah, my name is Kelvin. I see you guys next video.